Oh, you know what? I forgot. We should have had some music today, Charles,
That's all right.
because we're indoors.
I was going to say, it's awfully quiet outside.
Well, this is going to reduce the number of maniacs who could,
To 2.
yes, who might possibly interrupt the show. And Charles, we have sort of, I don't know about broken, but we've definitely bent a rule a little bit. We've used Dr. Zhivago before, but I decided with all of the sequels and remakes and reboots and retakes and reshoots, we could do this. Because it's a different poster, it's a different joke, and now Putin has announced that he's blacklisted several prominent American dopes. I don't know if you heard about this, but Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Hunter Biden.
And Tony Blinken.
Tony Blinken, Morgan Freeman, a whole host of people are not allowed to go visit Putin in Russia, where the ruble has now hit all-time highs against the dollar. How are those sanctions working out, dumb Joe?
Honestly, this is so embarrassing because there is that saying, a fish rots from the head.
Right.
And when you apply it to political life or business life, if the president or the highest elected official is a complete moron and is obviously not in leave of his senses or in control of his senses, then you have to ask, you really have to ask, first of all, what the hell does Dr. Jill Biden think of all this? I mean, she's not a medical doctor, either,
Right.
obviously, but if she truly loved Joe Biden and cared for him and really wanted to make sure that in he's past his twilight years, I think he's the bottom of the ninth inning here and they're not going to go into overtime, you would just basically say, listen, honey, you're obviously you're non-competent.
Compos mentis.
Right.
Yeah.
At this stage, we need to go for the dignified exit approach. And I don't want to try to run the country because I'm even tougher than you are. But no, we trot this guy out there. He was a disaster on this trip so far. I mean, he just every single time he interacts with somebody, he arrives in South Korea the other day and he greets the president. He calls him by the name of the last president, who was Moon. This president's Yoon. And then he does this visit where he's going to, I think it's Hyundai or one of the big car companies from Korea, where he's thanking the CEO for investing in a big plant in Texas. And he says, thank you for putting this multi-billion-dollar investment in Tyler, Texas, and it's actually in Taylor, Texas. Not, so it's just obvious that the guy, he shouldn't be allowed next to a lit barbecue, let alone, be at the negotiating table around the world with all these world leaders. I mean, he's really lost it. And you see that if you put together clip after clip of all of his mistakes. I mean, he's on air, he's on stage on the podium, he turns around to shake hands with somebody who isn't there. I mean, it's just nuts.
It is. And Charles, we've got a very sharp audience who have noticed what I've noticed. There's an audio sync problem. Okay. I have no explanation for why that's happening and no way to resolve it without stopping the show. So you know what we're going to do?
Stop the show and restart?
No. We're going to live with it and keep the comments to evidence and stuff that I care about, not technical input. If the show stops, we'll restart it. But for now, people can cope with this.
Okay. So it's just, not only is this a withering indictment of Joe Biden and his family, but then you have to think about who would be dumb enough to work for Joe Biden. I mean, who would be happy about saying, I'm the first female partially black vice president and I agreed to work underneath Joe Biden?
What about the press secretary who comes out and she's like, I'm the first black lesbian press secretary? It's like, excuse me, guess what? Who cares? We're here to talk about the White House.
Right, exactly.
Not your...
That's right, exactly.
I thought that was so inappropriate for her to say.
Well, it's, nobody is really interested. And by the way, in the same breath or maybe a different day, markets down bigly. And that may not matter. Who knows how much money she has? Probably her partner, who's the CNN anchor, but she may have a lot of money. But I don't think this person has made a lot of money on her own. And actual Americans who are saving for retirement, who are concerned about how they're going to pay for the soaring costs of college and medical care and other things, they do care when the stock market goes precipitously down, because it means they may have to work longer. They may not be able to retire when they thought they could retire.
But they don't care when the press secretary goes down. And that's why she shouldn't be talking about it.
Bingo. When or where. Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Well, what we could do is, I think I have a rim shot here somewhere.
No.
Maybe not.
We want to be rather cautious about that.
We need a rim shot, but we don't have it.
Anyway, the art department has done, as usual, an outstanding job here. You were telling me, I think, before we started, that there's some technique for producing these type of...
Oh, well, I was just saying, I was trying to get the rim shot, but it resulted in more. We're not going to mess around with that. Yeah, what I was saying earlier is that somebody's come out with a website that lets you kind of make, I guess, profile pictures or whatever, but it makes it sort of look like an oil painting, and so I was able to utilize that to kind of match the look. I never saw Dr. Zhivago, which I guess is bad, but it's about something to do with Russia, and they can't go.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good picture. You know, the other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, Charles, because we know we're living in a city with the stupidest mayor in the world, second kind of time in a row. Luckily, Mayor Stupid Adams is saying that he wants to run for president. You know, it's interesting, when you're less than a year into a new job and you're doing terribly, it's the perfect time to start thinking about what you're next.
Well, I think part of the reason could be that by saying that he's entertaining the idea, he can begin to raise money and perhaps spend said money on his personal lifestyle.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, I'd love to see an Adams-Biden debate. That would be hilarious. You know, in the primaries. Exactly. Oh, I knew. I needed to bring something up. The reason I mentioned that is today's a very special day.
What is it?
National Vanilla Pudding Day.
Oh.
And I think...
That's racist. Who eats vanilla pudding?
I don't know. Probably Joe Biden.
Chocolate pudding.
Right. Yeah.
I do like vanilla pudding, though.
Do you?
But wait, there's more about Eric Adams, because, and this is not a joke, remember, it wasn't that long ago that we had a non-terrorist set off gas bombs and shoot people up in the subway. I don't know what is terrorism if that's not.
Right.
But now, just this morning, and this was brought to my attention by a Crowdsource The Truth viewer, on the N train, which I used to ride all the time, a dude has been shot and killed in broad daylight on the subway card. Now, didn't stupid presidential hopeful Eric Adams say he was going to do something to, we won't show people distressing content, but he said he was going to do something to make the subways safe. He hinted at some sort of a radical plan.
Sunday morning at 11:42. I mean, that's.
I mean, it just happened like 2 hours, 3 hours ago.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And the city is definitely a lot less safe now.
Of course.
And it's about to get even less safe as the heat builds, and we're going to have a quick, I think, change back to cooler weather. But we're just now getting into the moment where the city really, where tempers start fraying, as temperatures rise, as humidity sets in, as people lose their jobs, as prices go up. This would appear to be, may have been some kind of a racially motivated crime.
Or maybe just a crazy guy. Or you're saying because he wants to shoot white people.
Right.
Yeah.
And anyway, this is...
but it's an utter failure of Eric Adams, the NYPD. They're all standing around texting. They could be down in the subway looking for crazy people, and they jump the turnstile, or they... Right. Do something and you stop them and question them.
What they really should do, they should change the system so that you have the turnstiles are there, and you let the people think they're jumping the turnstile, and that's
You
all.
just fall down a hole.
No, you have to go around a corner, and then there are like 8 policemen. You just jump the turnstile on a video, and you just round them right up. You take them straight to jail.
I think they could do it if they wanted to. I mean, I participated in a community meeting via Zoom with the police, and I have to say, Charles, I was disgusted by it. A lot of lip service from some old, wealthy-seeming woman who I'm sure is a Democrat, because when I started asking the police questions, they were like, mute that person, who let that person talk? It's like, what the hell is the point of this if you're just gonna?
Well, it's been so gamed. You have all the workers in New York City are unionized. All the government workers are unionized, and the procedure for trying to terminate or discipline a unionized public sector worker in New York City, I mean, there's no way to do it, and the compensation is so far out of whack with modern reality. Modern reality is you're lucky if you get a gig job. You certainly don't get a job where you could show up and once you're there,
text all day,
sleep all day, call, I got a sick day and another sick day. I got to find myself day. I can't tell you why I'm not here today.
Twitter said that you can do that. The guy,
I'm sure it worked for them. Not.
James O'Keefe had an undercover expose, and one of the Twitter employees was telling his date, if you need like a mental health day, some people show up just every now and then. Why are you hiring these people? And then on Lee Stranahan's radio show on the Backstory on Sputnik, he has a lot of people who have sort of the counterpoint. So we had a socialist on there who was saying that the minimum wage should be $30 per hour. And if you expect someone to do a mediocre job, is what he said. And I said, have you ever hired anyone to do anything? Because if I was paying somebody $30 an hour and they weren't busting their ass, they'd be fired in about 15 minutes.
Then what did he say?
Yeah.
it's just, ridiculous.
Pure stupidity, Charles.
Indeed.
So, just along the lines of the theme today, Russia has banned 963. There's a 33 in there somewhere,
I think
Charles.
You're right, yeah.
But what I'm getting at is, you might say, who cares? I don't want to go to Russia. But that, right now, anybody, we could basically go wherever Americans are allowed to go. The notion that an entire country is like, you can't go. It's pretty bad.
I think it makes, in my way of thinking, it makes Russia a more attractive place to visit.
Exactly.
Because we know we're not going to run into a whole bunch of nasty people.
But we should also mention that the ruble is hitting all-time highs. I mean, the thing that's ironic about that is if Joe Biden is trying to harm Russia, it's not working.
Well, again, I think I've been doing a lot of tweeting in the last week or 2 weeks, and what I'm trying to get people to understand is the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas to a lesser extent are kings and queens of the limited hangout, getting you to focus on something that does seem to distress you, but is not the real problem. If we take a big step back and we say, all right, it's 2022, compare that to 1992. Are we better or worse than we were?
Way worse.
Phenomenal. We were the sole superpower when the Soviet Union fell apart. India, I like it over India, but back in 1992, when it was still a socialist country, a dirt sandwich was your filet mignon. I mean, it was really very, very badly off in 1992. China was not in the WTO. Europe was not unified. There was no euro. The United States was king of the hill, literally king of the hill.
Did Bill Clinton get China into the world trade?
That's my point. You're leading the witness here.
Sorry.
So we were in very, very strong position. Bill gets in, wins the election, and Hillary, frankly, nearly destroys the presidency. She was acting as an unelected co-president. When you go into the scandals, as I have been doing now, there's a long list of them. And John Solomon has a great piece in Just the News about this. Turley has a piece about this. Michael Goodwin in the New York Post has a piece about this, that William Safire called Hillary a congenital liar in 1996. 1996, in January of 1996. This is when, I don't have the billing records. Oh, the statute of limitations passed? Oops. Magically, here they are. What do you know? They were in the private quarters of the White House. How was I to know? And so, there you go. January 8th, 1996.
I like this New York Times machine. Yeah. Blizzard of lies.
Right. So, on the one hand, we have Nina Jankowicz, who's supposed to be, the queen of disinformation.
I think I've heard of her.
It's a good thing that position's open, because Hillary could actually do a real job. She is the queen of disinformation. She is Safire was exactly right. She's a congenital liar. And what you have to do with people like that is you have to call them out. Thomas Jefferson pointed that out in his writings back in the day. It's fine. You're perfectly free to lie if that's what you want to do. And I'm equally free, and society is freer to call you out for your lies. When you don't call a liar what they are, you get in the position we're in now, where this Hillary Clinton, has gone from being a scheming bullshit artist. I mean, I don't know if you probably haven't been in the delivery room when a woman gives birth.
No, I haven't.
I've only done it twice, and I can say that there is no. And my wife was on the trading floor at Salomon Brothers, and then later at Morgan Stanley. So she had actual professional credentials and an MBA. There is no earthly way Hillary Clinton was giving birth to Chelsea and trading pork belly futures or whatever she was supposed to do, cattle futures, turning $1,000 into $100,000 while she's delivering a kid. This just total bullshit. Yeah. Everybody in the financial industry knows it's bullshit. And instead of calling her out and saying, listen, Hillary, you can't even do a fake Southern accent well. I mean, so stop going to black people. Imagine if you and I were campaigning, you're running for president, and we both decide we're going to go to, the deep South, and you get up there and you say in a fake Southern accent, every time I come down here, I always carry a bottle of hot sauce in my pocketbook in a bad Southern accent. And what would happen to us? We wouldn't make it.
Nobody would believe it
out of the audience. But it's not the only time she's done that. I mean, all these scandals, she didn't know what was going on with Vince Foster. She didn't know all the things she didn't know. And this is supposed to be the smartest woman in the world, by smartest lawyer in the world. So she needs to be called out. And we have the Robby Mook revelations that were made on Friday under oath in a trial. He confirmed that it was indeed Hillary Clinton who personally authorized the trafficking of, I would argue, defamatory information. It's not merely that it's wrong to put this file out there suggesting that Donald Trump was paying prostitutes to pee on likenesses of Barack Obama in a Moscow hotel, and they had proof of this, and the Alpha Bank stuff. Those rumors didn't just come out like once. It was a perpetual sale of that, the Billy Bush tape, all these dirty tricks. Every Clinton campaign they've had dirty tricks. They've had dirty tricks played against them, and they're the master and mistress of playing dirty tricks. So here we have Robby Mook saying this past Friday, Hillary, in fact, was the person who did this. And again, if Donald Trump's campaign manager, the shoe was on the other foot, and Steve Bannon said under oath in a trial in Washington, D.C., that Donald Trump personally authorized, spreading information using lawyers, not simply to the press, but also to the FBI and other places to try to instigate an investigation into Hillary Clinton. I mean, the whole world would be burning with rage if the thing had happened the other way. And as Trump himself, I think, issued a statement saying, how is he supposed to get his reputation back now that this has been proven? Forget the money for a second. That all these allegations, the number of times that Schiff the Atom piece of shit Schiff.
She's still there doing it.
Yes, said on CNN, MSNBC, behind the veil of I'm in the Gang of Eight, I see super confidential, highly classified information. And I'm telling you, I can't tell you why, but I'm telling you that Donald Trump is a Russian spy. And they did that before the campaign, after the campaign, through the Mueller episode, and to this day. And there may, and I hope will be, pushback at the polls, but there's no legal problem for Hillary Clinton in all this, and there should be.
Well, or Adam Schiff. I was watching this appearance on whatever this is, MSNBC. I did something pretty interesting this morning, Charles. I was monitoring MSNBC and CNN just to, see what the brainwashed people of the world are being programmed by. And I mean, it is so, So basically, Adam Schiff was making the point that because somebody who's not in the Supreme Court and somebody who doesn't work for the government and somebody who isn't Clarence Thomas was communicating about things, that Clarence Thomas should be taken out of the Supreme Court.
Well, no, that's a great one, because I'm glad you brought that up. I know Ginny Thomas. She interviewed me right before the 2016 election. Some say that appearance might have had a small impact in the result. Ginny Thomas is a wonderful human being, and if it's okay to have two for the price of one when Bill Clinton is the president and Hillary Clinton was the unelected co-president, I don't see how you can attack Ginny Thomas and then say, whatever Hillary did was completely, okay.
Well, because look, he's a tomato.
He's a bonehead.
I mean, this is he looks like he's been smacked in the face with a piece of plywood. I don't know what is up with Adam Schiff. But, he has never been caused to answer for his close relationship with a guy who's now convicted of killing two people with meth. And by the way, those people were black homeless male prostitutes who he solicited, brought into his home. Schiff appears with Ed Buck in multiple photographs at multiple events, receiving money from the guy. Nobody's ever questioned him about what was going on with that relationship.
Right. So going back to this idea of limited hangout, it is, when we think about the U.S. and Ukraine, U.S. and Russia over Ukraine.
The document appeared.
There you go.
This is from the Ministry of Defense.
Can we translate it? I mean, is it?
Yeah. Here. It says, statement of Russian Foreign Ministry in connection with the publication of list of American citizens included in the stop list.
Is Uma Abedin on the list?
Ooh, that's a good question. Wait, where is the list?
I think you have to...
Here it is, list. Oh man, now we got to wait another half an hour. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
All right, we'll come back to that. So
there it is.
And then translate. Ralph Abbott. No, she's not on it. Alma Adams.
Who is that?
Don't know. They say it on the right.
Member
Richard
of the
Adler,
House of
psychiatrist. Oh, Fred Eichner.
Who's
this is the guy who did the joint venture with the Clintons in China.
Interesting.
The Clinton Foundation.
David Axelrod.
Yeah, Axe.
University of Chicago.
Richard Allen. That's a Republican. Huh.
Whatever. They're all...
I wonder how they come up with these.
Well, I mean, even Morgan Freeman just saying that Russia interfered. Here's Biden.
Joseph Biden.
Robinette. Hunter Biden. Crackhead son of the President of the United States.
So it's interesting, though, that that they're banning Republicans as well.
I think they're just banning anybody who is, spewing nonsense about Russia. Oh. Susan Bennett, who is she?
I don't know.
Dana
There should be a
Bentley.
Dana Boenti. Yeah. They didn't translate it properly. Yeah.
Interesting. There's a lot of people here.
963, to be exact.
So that's an interesting list for people to go.
Jan Brzezinski, Joseph.
Atlantic Council.
I've never heard of them before. Have you, Jason?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Interesting list for sure.
So perhaps let's go
Yeah.
Back to
What?
you were going to. You wanted to talk about Dugan.
Well, we had him on High Dive with Lee Stranahan yesterday because he has just returned from, I mean, he's constantly doing stuff that you would basically not see me doing. He was embedded with the Russian military and flew there. Well, I think he drove there in an MRAP, which is like a troop carrier or something, and then he was flown out on a Russian jet. So he was totally embedded with the Russian military. And what they were doing is, after all these Azov battalion guys surrendered, the Russian forces took control of this office building that was one of their headquarters in this region. And they went in there and found a lot of material. I mean, you know, computers and desks and different stickers and documents that the people had that was basically showing their affiliations and how they hate everybody. Nazi symbols there. They hate black people. They hate Turkish people. They hate Russian people. They hate Antifa because Antifa supports Black Lives Matter. So it's an interesting video. People can see yesterday's episode of High Dive with Lee Stranahan on Patreon and Subscribestar, and people can also go and sign up.
Yeah, F Islam.
Oh yeah, they hate everything.
Well, that's a very interesting point because this whole, I think it originally comes out of the Middle East, but maybe before then some other culture had it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That has never worked well for us. I mean, if you think, just go to the Middle East for a second. We said, you know what? To get back at the Shah, what we're going to do is we'll arm Saddam Hussein to have a bloody war with Iran, to bleed Iran. And that, you know, really antagonized the Iranians, obviously, killed a lot of people on both sides. But beyond that, we then said, you know what? Why don't we also now topple Saddam Hussein? And whoever is behind using that saying today should have their credentials punched. It should be, look, you know, you could go, and it's not so easy to do this. You want to operate the French fry machine at McDonald's? You can do that.
They have a robot now.
Okay, well, we'll let the human do it. The ice cream machine, even Elon Musk can't fix, but you could do the French fry machine. You just can't have anything to do with American foreign policy anymore, or military policy, because you don't know what the F you're doing. Yeah, that's some of my tweeting.
Yeah, people can follow you on Twitter. I've been totally obliterated from Twitter, Charles, coincident with my report about Nina Jankowicz. I personally believe my revelations, in which I've basically accused her of needing to register with FARA, I think played a role in her resignation. People can follow Crowdsource the Truth on Odyssey, watch all the simulcasts on there, and I have added the full Nina Jankowicz broadcast. So if people aren't sponsors or can't afford to become sponsors, you can watch my 90-minute expose, Disinfo Diva or Dangerous Double Agent, who is Nina Jankowicz. A lot of facts and details in there, Charles.
Yeah, it was great work, ahead of the pack as usual. And she's done a number of interviews. I can't watch her. I mean, I can't stand her voice. I don't want to see her.
How do you like her crooked smile?
I don't like
complaining
figures. But she, in this latest interview, she tried the following tack. You know, I'm just like any of the other 250,000 people who work in the Department of Homeland Security. And that's where you do the car screech stop. Wait a minute.
You're right.
250,000 people
a lot.
Work at the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, this is something that was created after September 11th, 2001. And if you X out large retailing operations like Walmart and Amazon, and then ask for a list of all the companies in American companies that have American headcount of
that high,
you wouldn't find many.
Without the sound even, Charles.
Oh, it's so annoying.
But I'm saying the frequency of blinking must indicate something to body language people. Either she's got mascara in her eyes or she's nervous about something. And I think she's nervous. People are saying she looks like Quentin Tarantino. I don't think it's Quentin Tarantino in disguise. I've met Quentin Tarantino. He's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. But, Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of sitting around, if it's your own money, and you want to, I don't know, create a machine that will allow you to go into the center of the earth and see whether it's hot, you could do that. You could burn your own.
Doing that.
You could burn your own money, right? But with our money in government, you shouldn't be sitting there and saying, you know what I want to do? Fuck the First Amendment. I don't like it. I'm Nina Jankowicz. I got a B- in math once. You know, I know nothing about American history. Put me in charge of grading everyone's comments in America. And I will decide, because I'm so good at organizing my life, I will decide what is disinformation and what is true information. No, you freaking ninny. People knew from day one, before there was electricity in this country, people understood that there are many more opinions and people than there ever will be graders. And that the process of arriving at closer to truth is an interactive process where one person talks to another person, people talk to groups, there's a back and forth. But, what's this?
Well, this is her Twitter line where she talks about her family's history in former Poland, current Ukraine, and her animosity towards the former Soviet Union. I believe she's laying out a revenge plot here, a generational revenge plot. And, you know, you and I have spoken about this a bit. She talks about the river that ran her family's mill.
Hold that thought right then. In order to have capital, to own a mill, and this would be in the second version of the Polish Republic, which would have been independent until Hitler invaded it and took it over. How did she come up with the capital for that? Where did the family come up with that capital? And what was their relationship under Hitler in Poland? And, you know, what really happened in this whole history here? And shouldn't you, if you're trying to advance the interests of the United States, shouldn't you tread carefully if you're going to be, you know, bringing a family revenge plot into the middle of a potential nuclear war between the United States and the owner of the largest arsenal of nuclear weapons on Earth? I mean,
I would think so, but, you know, Charles, I'm detecting that this is mighty similar to the time that I had Alan Dershowitz on the show and got him talking about the agreement, the letter for Jeffrey Epstein, and he said all kinds of things that I think that he did not want to say. And then immediately after that, there were a lot of interviews with Alan Dershowitz that seemed to be kind of papering over what I had gotten him to say, trying to reposition the whole story. And I see the same thing happening right now. I say that because basically they're out there saying that this panel has been the victim of disinformation. And it's curious that they went and pulled out the original photograph, which I found. This photograph, when I originally found it on her own website and went into the source HTML of the website, downloaded the photograph and looked at it in a tool that allowed me to examine the metadata of the photograph. It had the photographer's name, the location it was taken, her name, the fact that she was inside Z Commanda, the Zelensky headquarters. And then I called the photographer. People can hear all of this in the expose that I did. Yeah. And they're using this photograph because they want to redirect people away. They want your visual association with this photograph not to be my report that exposed her and accused her of criminal actions that she should be compelled to answer for. They want you to now associate this with the New York Times and the notion that this thing is the subject of disinformation. Meanwhile, they don't tell you what the specific piece of disinformation was that targeted this board and how it's incorrect. They just call it disinformation.
Excellent segue. Let's go to the NYS charities, the next thing over. Let's punch in Atlantic Council.
I love it. Like that?
SCIL.
There we go.
Yeah, and then you have to hit the... Okay, that's it. Now notice this is a lot like other potentially crooked charities where you have an American charity, the UK charity, other charity, right. Ample opportunity to obfuscate, I like that word, where all the cash is going. So we punch this, and let's look at what happens when you punch this. And remember that as you scroll down, this was created in, I think, 1964. Notice at the top. Look at the reports. Okay, this is a charity that exists now. There is no report on file for 2020, right? There's the one for 19 is blank, meaning that it's probably incomplete and or under investigation. Let's look at the report for 2017. Now, the reason I bring this up, we saw this in EcoHealth, we saw this in the Clinton Foundation. New York State, Tish James, are you listening? Has serious disclosure requirements where you have to come and you have to, right away in this form, the first part of it, you got to disclose all your government grants. And notice here, the different governments that are granting to the Atlantic Council. You have Abu Dhabi, an oil company. And this is a precedent for the Clinton Foundation. None of this information for the Clinton Foundation is accurate in any year that where they filed. But look, we have the Estonian Ministry of Defense.
Whoa.
Is that, I don't know what Jetro is, but you keep going, it goes down the page. And this
Jetro hit oil and moved to Beverly Hills.
That's right. Slowly now. Mubadala Development Company is the...
Wait, Lithuania.
And Lithuania. Here's a good one coming up, though. Mubadala Development Company is a sovereign wealth fund, actually. Here's Norway, our friends in Norway. And, and then we have, slowly,
Sweden.
Let's see.
Norwegian Ministry of Defense, United Kingdom Foreign and Commonwealth
Next
Office.
page.
United Arab Emirates,
For
$2 million.
A large amount, yeah. A lot from the Middle East. And then slowly, well, we have to go. See, that's 17. Now let's look at
Air Force.
Right.
Air Force Academy. What's going
NATO.
on here? USAF, isn't that also the Air Force? I don't trust them at all.
Right. Okay, so that out of 5.3 million in government grants, 2.1 is from United Arab Emirates, right? So the United Arab Emirates would seem to have a fair amount of influence potentially.
I would say.
Let's look at the same drill for 2018 and see what we see. This is where it gets interesting. Yeah, okay. So same drill.
Who is signing this? Frederick
Kemp.
and George M. Lund.
Okay. See attached list. All right, you're going to have to flip it on its side, if you will.
How do we do that here in this?
Rotate page. There we go. Okay, look at this line right here, further down. Razumkov Center of Ukraine.
Oh.
Okay.
What's the number?
Razumkov, 16, second floor, Kiev, 3,000 only.
It won't let me draw a straight line. Who gave the 100,000?
Million, rather.
Million, sorry. National University
PZU,
of
that's in Poland.
And administration.
All right.
Romania.
Okay, so here we see 7 million. The preceding year it was 5 million. Here's 7 million. We're going to get back to this Razumkov, the Dumkov Center of Ukraine. We'll get back to that one. Now let's look at 2019. And there's you have to hit over here.
There's no two. This?
Yeah.
Oops,
Okay.
that's not what I wanted to
That's
start.
it.
No, because it's going to be difficult to navigate. Damn it, now it's got me in
You only need the second page.
Okay. It's just a pain.
All right, see attached. See attached listing, right? 13 million now. Before it was 5, now it's 7. Next year it's 13 million. It says see attached listing. What? No attached listing. And I've been through this whole filing. I can tell you it's not there, right?
Ooh.
So beginning in 2019, reporting for 2019 was 2020, the election period. We can see when this form was issued. If we go back when it was signed, I think, the first page. So, yeah, this is right after the election, when Biden has won, in theory, December 22nd. They show they file this form for the Atlantic Council, purposefully omitting the list of government grants, which had doubled in 2020, an election year. So how much money went maybe from people who didn't want to see Donald Trump into this organization, which has, I think, multiple ties to very suspicious people, including Nina Jankowicz.
You know who else didn't file 990s in 2019 and 20?
Yep.
The Emmys.
Yeah, I know. So if we...
I wonder why.
Yeah, so if we continue down this page here, into the 990, we'll find a description of an activity. There's in the 990 they talk that was the digital something thing.
Digital forensic analysis research or something like that. So it's going to be where?
It's going to be just a little bit right
through its research and analysis.
Right here, I think.
Socroft Center for Strategy and Security.
Yeah.
Houses the Council's long-standing research on NATO and the transatlantic, regional, and functional security challenges.
While also studying over the horizon. Have we heard that before? We have over the horizon character.
Right.
Yeah.
Functional programs. All right. Civil society partners. That sounds like Hillary Clinton and George Soros.
Right. And the Adrian Arshed up Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center.
They love that word.
Right.
Well, the Atlantic Council, one of the fellows is Dmitry Alparovich, who is the CTO of CrowdStrike that was hired by the FBI to investigate the DNC server.
Right. So I think, and we look actually, I think I have it elsewhere. There we go.
Jim Jones Jr.
Executive Chairman Emeritus. Atlantic Center.
Yeah, and he also
Not a good man.
is involved with that.
Stephen Hadley, Obama guy. Senior.
Well, so is James Jones Jr. Remember, his father, James Jones Sr., is pictured with Hillary and Obama at a podium that says President-elect Obama. Have you seen that picture? Yeah. So and they run that.
This is I think, White House Council under H.W.
What's all this?
These are their
Tyron.
Contractors.
Website consulting services. Wow.
That's a lot of money.
It is. That's a damn good website.
Media services, $586,000. That seems high.
Nouveau
Accounting services.
38th.
Look at this. $757,000 on accounting?
Seems like a lot.
Compared to the Clinton Foundation. I wonder if the books balance. For that, the books should balance.
Yeah.
And Michael Morrell, I think wasn't he CIA under Obama?
I don't immediately recognize him.
Maria Picacarp.
I'll take that one.
You got to, you're not responsible for your own name, but how did the parents sit there and say, I think what I want to do is name my daughter Maria Picacarp. She was going to pick a shrimp, but instead she picked a carp.
Well, all right, so...
We keep going because we'll get to the thing I showed you. There's a description of, this, by the way, is a 170B1A6, which is a public charity. It's not supposed to engage in partisan political activity.
But it is.
But it is, of course. It's certainly not supposed to be an agent of foreign governments, so why is it taking all these grants from foreign governments and foreign-controlled things? Did they register under FARA? I don't know. I doubt it.
I don't think so. Nina didn't, as far as I could tell. And she got really upset when I started talking about it.
Right. I think it's in the weeds here where we're going to see this foreign digital, whatever it is, research center. But it describes, in case we don't find it, there is, in this form somewhere, they talk about engaging in an activity which sounds very much like the Disinformation Governance Board, but being done in the guise of this charity. Where you would care about the spread of disinformation, and you would monitor, and you would alert people and cooperate to stop the spread of disinformation. That's just an inartful way of claiming or trying to disguise that what you're doing is interfering in foreign elections, and maybe interfering now in domestic elections.
What's this here?
It's just this fundraising.
Wait a minute now.
Strategy, and you got strategy and strategy building.
Well, don't you remember that guy? Who was that lawyer in Miami? Wisenant, Florida bar. Remember that guy? Barrington, no, it's spelled differently. There's an E in his name. That's a very unusual last name. Nothing really ever came out of that investigation. They just said, oh yeah, he's dead.
Oh, the lawyer who dropped it or whatever, on the found on the beach?
Yeah, right. Pan American.
These are grants from Atlantic Council. Anyway.
Well, the thing that we really need to do to properly investigate these documents, because you can't really select text in them. Or maybe you can in this one. What's the name of the thing?
Well, we'll table that for another time. All
right,
if it's okay, when we've
Sure.
had more time to scrub it. But let's go back into the New York State site and let's have some fun. So we're going to punch in a new search by EIN 31-158-0204. And search. And we're going to go to the first version of the 2013 report. Bless you.
Yeah.
So if you go, you'll see for 2013 in the reports, that's not the reporting section. You'll see that there are quite a few. You're going past it already. You see that there's 1, 2, 3, or the first one.
This one?
That's I think yeah, that's the first one.
I don't want to open it here. I want to open it over here.
Okay. Now we want to go all the way to the end, pretty much. Notice this is filed on the 19th of November, 2014. All right. So let's hit that one.
Paperclip.
Actually, this one here. Oh, sorry, this one here, 85. Okay. And you see at the bottom, that was filed December 18th, 2014. So the audit was filed without the consolidating financial statements for the Clinton Foundation for 2013, December 18th, 2014. Down here, if you hit 89, you'll see October 4th, 2016, the consolidating financial statements are filed. And there's going to be one hell of a coincidence you're going to see in a second. If we go to this 87, this is the balance sheets, right? Now, can you make that a little bigger, possibly?
Yeah, let me just change this here. There we go.
Okay. Now, I look at this, and this is just my training, and my bullshit detector goes full bore.
I see dots.
Okay. Now I will explain why my bullshit detector goes full bore. So what happened here you have, in theory, the consolidated financial statements are on the right. 351 million in total assets. You see that? 351, 555, 126, right? Then you see they're claiming that at December 31st, 2013, CGI had no assets and no liabilities. This is the new company established in 2009 in theory, but not organized properly, and operating from early September 2009 until sometime in 2013. The Clinton Global Initiative con game, whatever you want, grifter meeting around the world. Chai, the entity that was in theory formed in September of 2009 and then spun out in 2017 of the Clinton Foundation. You see that's that's 83 million in assets. That's an 83 million in assets and 36 million in net worth. That's a meaningful percentage of the total. And then you have the residual, the Clinton Foundation. So if these are the assets and liabilities here of the Clinton Foundation, of CGI and CHAI, you can't take assets limited as to use off and the inter-organizational or due from an affiliate line off and subtract the accounts payable. You had to transfer that somewhere, right? And this, when I look at this, what this tells me is that there is a pile of assets and liabilities outside the known Clinton Foundation that these people just peel off when it suits them. Say, well, we have a problem over here with these assets limited as to use. We'll just take those off, and we'll take liabilities off. The balance sheet isn't affected because we take the same assets off and liabilities. This is not an elimination and adjustment. This is a confession of fraud here, this column. And you wouldn't know that unless you'd had experience going into a financial statement the way I have and others have. But this is, to me, I mean, it's only $9 million in this case, but I look at this and I say, if you can do that with this pile of assets, then there's probably an even bigger pile of assets and liabilities off the books that we don't yet know about, right? This is a principle of accounting which is called hiding fraud. I mean, you can't do this way.
This is called theft.
It is total theft.
It's a complex scheme
That's right.
called stealing.
Right, exactly. So this thing, October 4th, they file this consolidating financial statement. Now, why do you think they fessed up to this on October 4th?
I don't know.
Well, let's shrink this and let's put yourself in the mind of what was happening. It's October 4th, 2016. What was happening in October? What happened on October 4th, 2016?
The election.
Let's look at that Wiener laptop, FBI vault. Yeah. What is the date of the summary here, Jason?
Where is it?
On the right-hand side? October 5th, 2001.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Well, but look down at the memo. This is the entry, okay, synopsis thing. Look at the next page. What's the date of this one? So October 3rd, 2016 at 7 p.m.
Sentinel?
That Sentinel is the system where you're supposed to...
The FBI thing, right.
They lodge this thing, and let's spend a little time. I don't appreciate it in a formal letter, getting a formal letter saying, hey, Charles.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Ortel. That's not very professional.
Hey,
that's the FBI.
They should probably have written WYD. What you doing?
How you doing? How you doing?
No, that's like the late night text from the FBI.
Right.
What you doing?
So look, during the course of my review, I encountered approximately / at least, okay, so that means 340,000 or more emails stored on a computer. 340,000.
133,000.
That's a couple of freaking emails. I mean, that's a lot of emails. Now, this is
a lot.
This is guessing now. This is the insurance policy computer. This is the one that Anthony Weiner, man of no moral standing, and his wife, and it's tough to explain how people fall in love and decide to have children together, but it's a most unlikely pairing. They had this laptop that has 340,000 emails on it. This is in a period of time when in 2016, at the height, we're building towards I don't want to see that picture. The Billy Bush, right, revelations are all teed up. Hillary Clinton's ready to go with those. And her team are ready to think they're going to humiliate Trump at the debate and kick him out. And Chuck Grassley has been pounding the table saying, God damn it, I'm a senator and I want to understand how Uma Abedin was holding 4 jobs at once during the Benghazi thing, how she was working for the Clinton Foundation, being paid by the State Department, being paid by Teneo, and being paid by the Clinton family. What the hell was going on? And the reaction is, we can't tell you, we don't have any responsive information. And here suddenly we realize that the FBI has a computer with 340,000 emails on it on October 4th, by October 4th, 2016, e.g. roughly 5 weeks before the election. The FBI has this information. The FBI had been investigating investigating the Clinton Foundation since January 2016. And I'm going to guess that these emails included very incriminating information about the Clinton Foundation and about how UMA was in the middle of deciding who, if you give me so much to the Clinton Foundation, what can you get out of the State Department? Doug Benn wants XYZ for a donor, an important client for the Teneo. So how much does the client have to give to the Clinton Foundation? That's the kind of information and supporting attachments that are definitely going to be there. And why I say that, in my experience, looking through grants and after action reports relating to a foundation, there's a tremendous amount of internet-based traffic, particularly in the modern era, surrounding any of these foreign projects. You contact somehow Secretary Clinton, some, let's say, American company wants to do something in a difficult country like, let's say, Democratic Republic of the Congo. They're nervous about
chop off people's hands and take the minerals.
Well, they're nervous about sending their people into the Congo, so they want some diplomatic cover, or they want access to the World Bank, or they want insurance for the project, or whatever. And the logical person to talk to is the Secretary of State, because Secretary of State can, send word to one of these agencies that this is a good person, I vouch for him, and let's get something done here. So here it says, a significant number of these 340,000 emails appeared to be between Uma Abedin and Hillary Clinton.
It's about yoga.
Yes, grandchildren, the wedding.
Well, it's mostly recipes. Does Hillary Clinton look like she's ever done any yoga? It's the biggest lie she's ever told.
That's right. Yeah,
yogurt.
Yeah, there's no size for yoga pants. There's blimp. But anyway,
well, she walks into Lululemon and they're like, "Holy crap, we're out of business."
See the Ringling Brothers outfitting shop down there. But anyway, this is based. She says 340,000 emails are between Uma Abedin and Hillary Clinton. This is based simply a review of the header information. That's not a sentence. This is based simply upon a review of the header information.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, it's a typo.
It's, hey, I don't speak English. I'm in the FBI.
Yeah,
this is
not that careful.
Maybe Nita wrote this.
This is the one that's addressed to Hay?
Yeah, this is Hay. Right.
Horse is like Hay.
And this is like, SDNI, Southern District of New York, is comfortable with me continuing my review as I have, which is to not read any of the emails.
Wow. So what is that? The U.S. attorneys? Or
yeah.
What the hell?
Well, remember, this is this whole Jerry Corsi thing, that Jerry Corsi had figured out, or surmised, that Uma Abedin had a Yahoo account. And with that in mind, he somehow managed to persuade the New York City Police Department to somehow figure out, it was my rough recollection, somehow figure out where this computer was and what might be on it and they were close to having a press conference to announce, all this stuff. And the FBI swooped in and said, not so fast. This is like August, September 2016. And so now the FBI has been sitting on this, and this person does not, this is not to read 340,000 emails. Or to
just
not,
the headers.
Just to read 340,000 headers, right?
But we would have searched and said, okay, 340,000, and said, here's all the emails between Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin. I didn't read them, but the total was 340,000 looking at the headers, searching the headers.
340,000 is a hell of a lot of headers to search. Yes. I think all right, even if there's a third party on those emails, I will not review their content out of an abundance of caution.
Caution for what?
I just wanted to formally bring this to your attention due to the pending election. So the person was aware that this could have election significance. The ongoing congressional investigation into, at the bottom, further down.
And I'm just reading this, just putting this on the record because of the optics of the case. It's like, what do you mean?
Right. So in other words, here's an example of a stinkathon. This thing is a rotting cadaver of incriminating evidence that this is probably Nina Jankowicz's younger sister or brother is probably writing this memo. I'm making that up. But this was a matter of pressing concern. You had congressional committees wondering, Senate committees wondering, you had some in the press wondering what was really going on. CP is child porn, I think.
Yeah. Did not review the content. Warrant only authorized me to view the items that would not give me probable to believe that CP evidence
that would give me probable cause.
Ah.
So in other words, they sought and received this information in connection with an
Did Epstein
same difference.
Wiener, did he have child porn on his laptop, or he was emailing to an underage naked
that
stuff?
that she was emailing back.
She was.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, this is not like we could do your classic homework assignment to get a major in English at Yale University. Now you do compare and contrast the laptop contents of the Hunter Biden laptop with
Anthony Weiner.
You're going to get a PhD in that for that thesis. But anyway, this is a clear case to me of the FBI pulling punches to protect Hillary Clinton. We think there's one clear case. They had been investigating, and quote, the Clinton Foundation since January 2016. They should have. They also investigated it going way back. We'll show in a second. The Clinton Foundation from 2001 to 2005 didn't see the obvious fraud. It's like the bomb, the people when they test the security, the Homeland Security, when they have a big box with the word bomb on it.
they just let it right through.
Oh, your bomb is ticking over here. Could you quiet that thing down? We're not going to do it. It's awfully loud.
Open it. Check it out.
But anyway, so this is, to me, I mean, if we go back to the audit for a second. Yeah. All right, so what can I say about this audit right away and very quickly? Let's go to like page 65. Slowly now. All right. Here. Yeah, that's good, that page. This is Price Waterhouse. Now you remember, Price Waterhouse was the firm that prided itself until they really screwed up the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
They had the managing partner, and he's looking down the dress of the starlet.
And then they called the wrong winner.
That was pretty. But this is dated December 16th, 2014. Okay? Now that's late. Under New York law, it would have had to have been in and finished by November 15th or thereabouts, 2014. This is over a month late.
Yeah, it was busy.
That only happens if there's a problem. Okay? Now this is, remember, Eric Braverman he started July 1st.
I do remember Eric Braverman.
Yeah, 2013. He starts July 1st, 2013. They say that he's re-upped his contract. They issue the audit, and then by January, he's out. Like a month, 3 weeks later, he's out. Typically, that happens when there's a problem. Okay? So if we go into this next page, 66, we look at this and we say, I would look at this and I would say, you know what? This is a fraud.
I don't know how you can determine that so quickly.
Because I've been looking at it for a long time. But if you look at property equipment net of accumulated depreciation in 2013, $110 million, and then unrestricted invested in fixed assets, exactly the same number, 110, 206, 478. Okay, 110, 206, 478 divided by the total net assets, 283, 517, 972, is almost, let's call it 37%. It's very material to the total, right? If there's a mistake with that, the balance sheet's busted. Okay, and how many presentations have I gone through where I explained that there's about 74 million of overstatement initially in the gross value of property and equipment, which means that depreciation was overstated because they depreciated over an inflated base. So this is way off. The property and equipment is off, and this is off. And the fact that there are these huge errors continuing to this day means that the lease agreement with the city of Little Rock is likely in breach. The NARA agreement with the National Archives, the license agreement, is in breach. The reporting around the world is in breach, just off the property and equipment overcharging issue in the period 2004, 5, and 6, when John Glasgow, the CFO of the construction firm, was still alive. So there's a serious continuing problem relating to overstating the value of this double wide near the Arkansas River in Little Rock. Then the next thing you turn to is Chai. That's back on page 85 there, Jason. Or maybe not 85, maybe 87. Sorry. Yeah. Here we had these Chai assets. Chai Inc., as we explained before, was never lawfully formed. Chai Inc. was incorporated in September of 2009. It was only organized in 2010, in I think February or March, when the bylaws were adopted. So for a long period of time, by far and away the biggest piece of the Clinton Foundation, from 2004, so really from 2006 to 2009, was operating even though there was no real organization. It was just a quote initiative, which is not something you can actually do. So I told you 110 million is a problem of assets. Here's 83 million, you got another problem. So that's now 193 million is a problem. And then I'm not sure which I think it's footnote 8 if we go in here, Jason. So it's probably page 75. Yeah. Let's just check on that one, yeah. No, that's footnote 4. So let's go down here. 8. No. Oh, maybe let's try this one. Let's see.
There's 5. Property and equipment.
No, keep going. Yeah. Here we show there's a Clinton Foundation endowment fund, they say, of $14.3 billion, and there's Clinton Foundation endowment contributions receivable of $44 million. There's an investment to support a speakers bureau of $250,000. So there's $59 million of assets on the balance sheet for an endowment, and the Clinton Foundation has no lawful authority to raise money for a general purpose endowment. When we'll go into this in a second, when we go to the legal paperwork, the only place where it talks about an endowment in the articles as a valid purpose, not an activity, purpose, was to raise the amount of money required to give the National Archives the correct amount of money for a, quote, initial endowment. There is no blanket authority to just, have an endowment, a rainy day fund to support anything you may care to do as a charity. It's just that's not a concept that works.
It's like a piggy bank.
So we have 193 plus 60 gets you 253 million out of 355 million. Just off the top of my head are for unauthorized purposes or involve diversions. And this is a fact which the folks at Price Waterhouse should have discerned with regard to the 2013 audit right before primary season began. Because this was, remember, the letter's December 16th, or thereabouts, 2014. So Hillary's, not primary season, before the presidential contest kicks off. Hillary has not announced yet. This is a juicy piece of red meat. The folks who are thinking about running should have looked at this and said, now wait a minute, this is obviously a massive potential fraud, assuming there is an entity called Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation that exists. And now I'm going to show you that it didn't exist. So if we go and minimize this, and we go into the Arkansas thing that we had gotten off of email, the thing, Okay, now slowly through here, the next page. Okay, this is a copy of the original Articles of Incorporation of the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation, All right. And here in purpose and powers, the articles of incorporation have to be public for a public charity, right? And on the basis of these articles and nothing else, normally the real IRS, the honest portion of the IRS, which is probably a small piece of the total, would look at the articles alone and say, without regard to your operations or anything else, do these articles describe an entity that could be validly tax exempt under the code and given regulations and precedent and everything? These certainly do not. But as we've talked about before, but you'll see it says the purposes are to establish and support, and you go down a little bit further, protect and improve. They can have a fund for charitable, educational, scientific, or educational purposes, not activities. And they can only further these purposes, not anything charitable, scientific, educational. And let's see, keep on going. I think it's
Skip.
Yeah, Skippy.
So stupid. Why does he put
All right.
Skip nickname in the...
And it says here, the affairs of the corporation shall be managed by a board of directors that shall be known and referred to as the board of trustees. This Article 8 has never been amended. Okay? This is the important one. You could put stuff in the bylaws that disagrees with the articles, and the bylaw provisions, can't do that. It's got to agree. So if you want to change the way in which this thing is run, you better change Article 8. And they've never done that, even to this date. And you've got Bill supposed to be so freaking smart, and Hillary's supposed to be so freaking smart. They paid tens of millions of dollars for lawyers over the course of 25 years. Chelsea has multiple PhDs. How come they couldn't figure this out? It's not complicated. If you want to call it directors and you want to change the responsibilities the directors might have, you've got to amend the articles, and they didn't do that. So if we go, let's go to like page 13, thereabouts. If you keep going. This one here, this page, 60. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Charlie Daniels.
Yeah, so this, singer, right?
Devil went down to Georgia.
Okay, so this is not a conformed, amended version of the articles. This is a certificate that it says was filed at 2:20 p.m. on April 28th, 2005 in Arkansas. And it says here that the corporation is duly organized, which it never was, created and existing, which I argue it may not have, held a meeting of the membership to change Article 1 to this: the name of the organization shall be the William J. Clinton Foundation. Now, we don't have it to show, but there is an Arkansas statute that says you cannot change the name of an entity if the name change is deceptive. The original purpose, in a nutshell, and the original purpose of this thing was not to be a presidential foundation that existed to serve the whims of Bill Clinton. It was to be a presidential foundation under the presidential, complying with the Presidential Libraries Act of 1955 as amended in 1986. And so if you're going to take that designation off, you probably should be aware of the undertakings that the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation made in the agreement with NARA that's dated November 18th, 2004. So Bill has a heart attack or a heart condition or whatever he has in September of 2004. My thinking is that in sympathy to that, and because the invitations were already out, because they'd spent 4 years on this, and because Bush has had potential vulnerability for activities relating to Iran-Contra and other reasons that the Clintons may have known about, the FBI, the dogs are called off at the FBI. They go ahead with opening the Clinton Foundation. With that, Bill's like, I could do whatever I want. Forget the articles, forget Arkansas law. Nobody will remember I used to be the Attorney General of Arkansas. I'm just going to change the name of this thing so that everyone understands that
Wait,
whatever I
we
want.
just lost sound completely somehow. Oh no, it's back. Sorry.
That's right. So,
I found this, Charles.
yeah,
Deceptive Trade Practices
Right.
Act.
right, and there's good find. So, this act directly relates to charities. There's specific provisions in it, and beyond that, it wouldn't just be Arkansas law that was important here, because this entity by 2005 and well before 2005 was operating across the world, and certainly across the United States. And many states have Deceptive Trade Practices Act, and beyond that, the federal government has the FTC, and you should probably register. This should be regulated under the FTC. So, if we just go back to the beginning of the Articles of Incorporation, like page 3. Yeah. Now notice Article 1 begins with a caption, name, right? The name of the title, rather. Name, colon, then duration, purpose, and powers. Go to now that form that we were looking at with the replacement language. Sorry, it's like, keep going. There. No, keep going. 16, page 16. 16. That's 14. Yeah. Okay, here, no caption. Right? So clearly they were not, whoever did this was probably told, look, no one's going to check this. Don't worry. Just slap this sucker in there and we're off to the races. And does that have a period at the end of, is there a period after foundation in here?
It doesn't look like it.
Doesn't. There's no period. All right, so there's no period and there's no caption. And we go back to page 3 again. You'll see that in Article 1, the name of the corporation, there's a parenthetical, which is here and after referred to as the corporation, is. By making that amendment, if this amendment was definitely filed with Arkansas, according to Arkansas, because they've sent this information back to us, say, yeah, it's filed. By making this amendment, what you've done is you gutted any reference to corporation, uppercase, in the balance of the document, rendering it, I would argue, just invalid. Right? This is not the kind of work that a diligent group of, sitting senator, PhD, rising PhD,
lawyers.
Bill Clinton, lawyers, all these smart people being paid a lot of money, David Kendall, other people. I mean, you would never do this. And any important document that I've ever been involved with, what you demand is, give me the original, give me the revised, and now give me a mark to show changes version. And I want to check and make sure that I want multiple people to check and make sure that you didn't fuck this up, right? But this is obviously
they didn't do that.
This is willfully negligent, right? Because remember, by April 25th, 2005, NARA, National Archives, has accepted to enter into this license agreement to operate a presidential library. All the records of the Clinton presidency, in theory, are in this building. And the Presidential Libraries Act does not allow a grant for partial use of a facility to come from something that doesn't exist. The grantor has to continuously be a foundation. April 25th, 2005, I argue this thing ceased to be a foundation in compliance with the law. Now, here we are in the zone where starting then, and maybe before then, the idea was when, we'll break the law because we control the people who decide to prosecute us. And so, we're showing you how powerful we are from April 25th forward. You have a problem? We solve the problem. We put our fixers in there. We silence or worse our critics. And that's why you need to pay us off, because we're really valuable. We're not asking for $1 trillion to help you make $10 billion. We're asking for a measly $1 million. And you can make $1 billion off of us. And people say, that sounds pretty good. So the first step of the coin, no articles. This is something we've been talking about. Now, we'll go into ProPublica, which you have up there, I think, already. Yeah, and we'll punch in, find a nonprofit by Bill, Hillary, any of these words, Bill, Hillary, Chelsea Clinton. All right, the first one. Okay, now let's look at page 2005. Okay. And do you want to download it or?
Yeah. Oh, I guess we've already downloaded this before, but it's okay.
Okay. So notice this thing was filed November 8th, 2006. Okay? It says that there was a name change in 2005. And we showed you that they changed it in theory April 25th, 2005 from the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation to the William J. Clinton Foundation. And you'll see in the title, above this level, the name that they have here is not the William J. Clinton Foundation, but William J. Clinton Foundation. Just to dwell on that for a second, you find this out when you go through a divorce and you have a joint account, or, I mean...
The names have got to be the same.
Exactly the same. You find this out if you're trying to transfer...
Passports are problems when you get divorced. Well, not for me, but for other people.
Right, exactly. So on the other hand, if it's in Arkansas and here in New York and in Democrat-leaning states where people understand how expensive in New York media markets are and therefore how expensive campaigns are, you love to have the ability to open bank accounts that people never look too closely at. The second you have a dummy account connected with a foundation, that's perfect for dummies to break the law and raise money for crooks, because you go and you say, I know the real name of my company is the William J. Clinton Foundation, but if you write this check over here to William J. Clinton Foundation and send it to this address, not the other address, then I'll be able to give you a slip of paper. You give me $1 million, I'll give you a letter saying you gave me $10 million. And you could then, because I don't care, I've got all this dirty money coursing through the foundation and I know the IRS is never going to check any of this, that allows you to appear to be richer than you are, and it also allows you to get a nice big fat check back from IRS. And so you're real happy to do that. And you think, you know what, I'm a crook, but now I know the Clintons, I've got them in my pocket, right. So it's mutually assured destruction. And as a guess, I think that's something that was definitely going on here. Now, in William J. Clinton Foundation, 2005, here we're going to show you a missing 22 pages that's not in the version of this document I'm going to show you on the Clinton Foundation site. So you have to, oh no, I want to go back to that. Yeah, so it's about 40 pages in. I don't remember the exact, we want to find the bylaws. Yeah, if you keep on, 40 pages. Yeah, there you go. 40 all the way up. 30, all right, there you go, all right. Let's start with the easy part. What do the first two lines of this document say?
William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation amended and restated bylaws.
Right.
Well, the William J. Clinton.
Right. So if you were going to do this properly, what you would do is you would say it would be called the William J. Clinton Foundation amended and restated bylaws, because this is a version that has been amended in theory. So the numbnuts who did this, Section 1, the principal office of the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation shall be located
in the state of Arkansas.
But they still call it the Presidential Foundation. I thought its name was changed on April 25th, 2005. Evidently, not so much, right? So they keep calling, they use the old name here.
Why?
Because they screwed up. And now bylaws are not filed necessarily. They don't need to be filed with the state of Arkansas. You need to keep track of them, but you don't necessarily need to file them. And so you could, after the fact, change them. And if you wanted to think that you could, instead of having trustees, have directors, you might insert Article 2 here, which calls these things directors. Now, they've never amended the Articles of Incorporation, Article 8 of the Articles of Incorporation, to say the thing's going to be run by directors. But here the bylaws say it's going to be run by directors, not trustees. So that's a clear conflict. This is wrong. The bylaws are purposely wrong. And why are they wrong? Because the trustees who had been listed as trustees were probably very nervous about being connected to this, and most of those trustees dropped off as trustees. So if we go to section 22 and 23, we'll see why.
Where are those?
Now again, you see, go to 21. You see it says quorum, section 21, quorum. Section 20, you'll see it's got a title, meetings. It's almost as if they're saying, we're going to leave clues where we cheat. We're not going to follow the pattern, as they didn't follow it in the amendment for
meetings and the
term, meetings, quorum. Now look at
all.
That's the way it used to be, except they're calling it directors as opposed to trustees. Now look at 22. The board of directors may appoint persons as trustees of the foundation to serve on a committee of trustees. Huh? That conflicts with Article 8. Anybody they want to, anyhow they want to do it. Then Section 23, again, no, this is a fraud. I'm not going to put the position of trustee shall be an honorary position. And trustees shall have no authority to act for or on behalf of the board of directors of the corporation. Total bullshit. You can't put that in, right?
Why do you even have them?
Well, they had the historical problem. The articles say it's controlled by trustees, but the trustees don't want to be trustees. Because under
What's the difference between board of directors and board of trustees?
Big difference. A trustee under Arkansas law is thought to have a higher fiduciary duty, a higher obligation. So that's why in the articles, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but my belief is the articles were set up the way they were set up in 97 to suggest to the world, all these Clintons have had all these problems. That were being sloppy. We're not going to let them do that. These trustees are going to be honorable. They're going to submit themselves voluntarily to the tougher standard. They're going to be trustees. So they
and then they were all like, nah.
Flim flam, we got to steal. We stole how much money? I don't want to be a trustee. So they try this change, and they report this, at least to the IRS, they report this November 8th, 2006. Let's go to the Clinton Foundation, about Clinton Foundation page. I think and let's hit audited financial statement and IRS Form 990 for 2005 and see what we see. Okay. Here they're auditing something with yet another name, William J. Clinton Foundation, Inc., which was not its formal name. We can go here, Jason, to this audit. Let's see, I think it's 21 pages long.
It's just the audit, you mean?
Yeah, I just want to see keep going. 21 pages long, right? Which is about the amount missing from the IRS filing for 2005, in that they don't put the bylaws in this version of the filing on their website because they don't want you to see that the bylaws blew the thing up in 2005, right? These are not, it's not accidentally on purpose, almost exactly the same pages that were in the real filing are now admitted into this thing so we could take the incriminating evidence out. This is the kind of flim-flam bullshit that, is at the core of the Clinton approach to life.
Clintotopia.
Clintotopia. Exactly. So, and I would argue that from April 25th, 2005 to the present, the Clinton Foundation is not formally an organization. Only organizations can be tax exempt. And instead of fessing up and saying, that we've screwed up back in 2005, instead of going to Obama in 2009 and saying, we really need to make this right, they have been deceiving the world ever prior to April 25th, 2005, but especially from 25th April 2005 forward. If they didn't have bylaws and they didn't have articles, then they couldn't accomplish the merger that they say they accomplished between Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative and the main Clinton Foundation, which occurs at the end of December, in theory, 2005. And there you can see those documents at the end of this thing. Keep going. I'll be able to tell you when I keep going. Go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's keep going.
That's the end.
Was that the end?
Seems to be.
So it doesn't have the merger document in here.
I don't know.
Well, at the beginning of any merger document, you typically say 21st Century 3D, whatever the real name of it is, Inc., and the other party, whatever its real name. In each case, you say a corporation duly organized and validly operated in the state of New York is merging over here with duly organized. If you're not duly organized and validly operated as an organization, you can't merge. People merge, they get married, but corporations only merge if they exist. And under Arkansas law, again, we don't have the citation, it's crystal clear that a public benefit tax exempt organization can only merge with another.
Right.
Right? And so if neither were, then what you're doing as Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton is you're lying, egregiously lying. And here, this is interesting. Here's the FBI still has this thing, and it says this initial release. So there's more the FBI has. And if Durham were doing his work, he would go in here and he'd say, okay, this is the initial release. I want to see the whole. I want to see the whole thing, and I want it. Don't do it all botched up the way this thing is. Give me a chronological file. I want to understand, how this came so rapidly together before 9/11. This thing was, geared up in February of 2001, and then 9/11 happens, and suddenly, the pace slows, and the person who was leading the thing leaves to go get a fancy, cushy corporate partnership job, and the former U.S. attorney is replaced by dopey James Comey. And then Dopey and Mueller spend a whole bunch of time, let's call it 3+ years, and they don't notice that the thing has botched articles of incorporation and botched bylaws and wasn't audited and didn't file a tax return for 1997. They have access to all the internal information that I don't have concerning the identities of the donors.
Right.
They should have been able to see that the biggest donor by far in 1998 for $2.3 million was the Bill Clinton Presidential Inaugural Committee, which shouldn't have been channeling that order of magnitude into this entity. And by the way, it had a much bigger balance than that. Where did that money go? How much of that money was used to pay off?
What are they supposed to do with the money from the...
Throw a big party.
But I'm saying when there's leftover money.
You're supposed to spend it for the purposes it was raised. So you're going out there and you're saying, I need money to throw a party, to supplement the budgets in Washington, D.C.
How is that tax exempt?
It's a special provision of the law that they have for these time of inauguration committees. But the point is, there's a close connection between that partisan political operation. You don't have, a presidential inauguration committee. You're not sitting there saying, you know what? This is just like every grade school in America. Nobody won the election. This is going to be all about, we want to congratulate both candidates.
Everybody, yeah.
We'd like to begin this by congratulating the loser. Thank you for losing. Let's celebrate the principles of, no, this is slap everybody on the back, stay up dancing all night, nakedly partisan operation, chaired by Terry McAuliffe, co-chaired by Ann Jordan, where that money after the 97, January 20th, 1997, that money, there's never been a formal accounting for it, complete and formal accounting for it. So we don't really know what happened to that money, but we do know that the Clintons were having grave difficulties raising money in the 96 cycle, and that's why they had various and sundry people, including the guy who just disappeared or was found dead, Mark Middleton,
Right.
was around raising money in Asia for the 96 campaign. So Asia, exactly. He was going around, and what they do is they put the Dennis Chang, I guess he's from Asia, they put people in working for the Clintons who have the responsibility, they call it outreach. They're masters at saying, you can't call it slice, I'm in charge of, cutting your head off or shooting your head off with an antique rifle. No, you call it corporate outreach, citizen service. You have that person is raising money around the world and in the position to either make life very difficult for American companies that want to operate internationally as Deputy Chief of Protocol in the State Department, or alternatively making it easy.
Look at this.
Oh, he's got Cheng strategies.
Yeah, all these things, strategies, seem to be companies run by criminals. The strategy is, I'll start this company, and then you send me money, and I'll keep doing the illegal stuff. It's like Sophia Strategies, Nina Jankowicz's LLC.
Capone strategies.
Yeah.
And the Capone Foundation. So, yeah. Anyway, so we've done, the two versions are different. The one version of ProPublica, the other version, an LLC, of course.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This says it was started 16th May 2017, which is different, I believe, than what you had just had in his LinkedIn.
It's interesting.
Wait, what date? When did Peter Smith die? Pretty close to there, 13th, I think. Can we check that? But the incorporation date is different than the date that he said he started in his LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, he said 19, I think.
Wait a minute now. I'm trying to find, it's not easily coming up, but here's something interesting. Shane Harris is so very proud of the Washington Post Pulitzer winners.
That's in 18.
Fantastic addition. His previous stint at Wall Street Journal was pretty impressive too, especially the Peter Smith story. Who's Neil?
Climate change, BLM.
I wonder if he's vaccinated. Well, this seems like a legitimate account with a lot of followers, kind of.
But can we just...
Yeah, trying to find out when Peter Smith died.
I think there's a Wikipedia entry for that.
Let's see.
Basement vegan.
That's interesting.
Fitting.
May 14th.
May 14th. So then if we go back to his LinkedIn there, it says October 2019, whereas Open Corporate says May 2017. So that means...
See how ADD helps sometimes, Charles?
Yeah.
Wow. So what the hell is going on there?
Well, the issue would be, is he making truthful disclosures? I mean, he's working for Onward Together, which I think, wasn't that Obama's thing?
No, that's Hillary.
Is it? Onward and Downward?
It's Hillary. Yeah, there she is.
And he's also...
Great photo. Who laid this out? Just cut it off right in the middle of her eyes.
They're evil.
Yeah, it's good.
Dress her up. Look at that.
I like it.
Look at that. That's not a flattering suit.
Well, she borrowed this from Klaus Schwab. It's a cork board. You could pin things into it.
That's right. You can hide a vat of Chardonnay.
It's a deep pile carpet, Charles.
Not good.
1978. So what else did we want to look at here?
All right. So we want to talk then. We had another few FBI vault thingies. Oh, let's stay on this one for a second. So, a lot of chatter. John Solomon's piece. What's his name? Jonathan Turley's piece.
Oh yeah.
About the significance of Hillary Clinton being confirmed by Robby Mook, the campaign manager, that Hillary Clinton's personally blessed the idea of spreading these false rumors, damaging and false rumors. I would argue they're worse than just damaging rumors. They're knowingly false accusations that were blasted around the press. And I was not really a victim, but the subject of a similar approach over the Peter Smith connection. So remember Shelby Halliday at the Wall Street Journal? You were there, and you thought highly of her. Your radar was much better than mine on her. But her approach was, I think almost the first time I met her with you, it was like, Charles, has the FBI contacted you yet? So it's crystal clear the way it works down there is they have these younger people who don't get that it is absolutely wrong to manufacture fake news by talking to the FBI and say, hey, let's have a cup of coffee. Don't put it on the book. We'll meet over here at the Starbucks. Not the one where that person was shot in D.C., but we'll meet over here and we'll have a discussion that won't be in you're not going to be a visitor to the Wall Street Journal, and I'm not going to be a visitor to the FBI, and we'll just brainstorm.
Yeah.
Like, who are you trying to, say is a problem? Oh, you want me to write a story about Charles Ortel was in touch with Peter Smith? And then the FBI, I didn't know that. Maybe he should be investigated. And that's, I think, the way it works, that Hillary had such close connections. This project of the Clintons and the Bushes to subvert the sovereignty of the United States to an unregulated New World Order. This is something that George Bush spoke about. There are books about it by Brent Scowcroft, actually. I was just looking at it in the Strand yesterday. There are this whole idea of the global order is more important than any one nation's set of laws. And that's because the close circle of scoundrels that operates between Yale, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, and a few other places, is going to, with Rockefeller money, with Gates money, control the world in secret and not be subject to national laws and certainly to globalist laws. That's a good project for them. It's a good project for the smaller states that can't hope to be competitive, like the UK, for example. Everyone in theory likes a good English accent, an upper crust English accent. So those people can get jobs, in this unregulated globalist thing. But and now this most recent...
That's what people want to know about, is what is happening? Is Biden handing over U.S. sovereignty to the WHO?
See, I think we talked, a little bit on the walk-around, our last walk-around, the idea that NBC has now written, and CNN have both written stories saying that Hunter Biden appears to have made, and the Biden family, $13 million based on examining what they see in the laptop from hell. The fact that they've crossed that Rubicon means that the editorial divisions have said it's okay to really open this door and go into it, and it's really going to stink, and we don't know where it's going to go, but probably it's going to go to a place where Joe Biden's going to be impeached in the end, looking ahead. So
I think they're waiting to see if he lives that long.
Exactly.
They're like, eh.
Right. But if you go back and, with Trump, they virtually wanted to impeach him for tweeting in the very beginning.
Did.
Right?
Calling.
In the very beginning. And Maxine Waters on my Twitter feed, I think somebody has put up the fact that in 2018, Maxine Waters, a sitting moron in the House of Representatives, a confirmed moron, is quoted giving a speech saying, first we're going to take Trump out, then we're going to take Pence out. This is a member of the House of Representatives, basically inciting an actual insurrection, an actual assassination. So they can talk like that. Kathy Griffin can walk around with a mock-up of
the head cut
off. But Donald Trump can't say to the newly elected president of Ukraine, hey man, we gave your country a whole bunch of money. It seems to have disappeared. It could be some of our very top people involved in this mess. You're asking for favors from us. Ukraine needs to be cleaned up and the United States needs to be cleaned up. What the hell are you guys doing with that? I would argue that Trump has it's not wrong for Trump to have done this. He had a duty to uphold the Constitution, to protect the American people, to not have us be in the position we're in now, where we've got Ditwit Romney saying that he actually was quoted as saying, NATO needs to be prepared now for a likely incoming nuclear strike by Russia.
What?
And Donald Trump was going to start a nuclear war? Donald Trump did not start a nuclear war. If anything, Donald Trump, we must prepare.
Wow. Mitt Romney is super dumb.
I think he should have been drinking instead of being a lifelong Mormon. He's lost it.
If Putin uses nuclear weapons, NATO is not going to engage. That's going to be it.
Right.
Mitt Romney is looking not well. Wait a minute.
He looks like Hunter Biden.
That's what I was about to say. He's been hitting that crack pipe. Second, third smartest crackhead.
He does. Doesn't he look a lot like an aged version of Hunter Biden?
Yes.
That meme might be
dry aged.
Right. It might be interesting. So this admission that Hillary Clinton did bless this false sale, the sale of this false argument about the Trump campaign is just a longstanding pattern and practice on Hillary's part. You go back to her days after Wellesley. Wellesley, we've talked about this before. She's the first time that a student's giving a speech at graduation. She gives the speech to the president or the staff, and they say, that's fine. Gets up, tears it up, and then tears into a black Republican senator standing there on the dais who had been honored at the celebration.
What was the response to that?
Give her an extra, just laud her in Time magazine. They had articles about future leaders, and she's one of them. Magaziner was another one. That's the kind of stuff. It's just you really don't do that. I don't know if you went to your graduation, but
I did.
Yeah,
it was in the park.
Yeah, in my case, it was very poignant because my mother and father had met at Yale, and it was a celebration. It wasn't a time to make bold political statements and humiliate the honoree. Senator
Why
Brooke.
didn't they just throw her off and be like, wait a minute now?
It would be like the Will Smith thing. It's the same idea. You're going to get an Academy Award, and that gives you the right to slap somebody in the middle of an act. That's bullshit. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. It should be disqualifying.
Yes.
What should have happened back then is Wellesley should have said, you know what? Listen, you miserable piece of crap. Give us that diploma back. Give me your diploma.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
Charles, people don't realize what these things do. You might recall, it wasn't that long ago, there was a lot of chatter on Twitter like, oh, white people can't comment on this Will Smith slapping Chris Rock because this is a black thing. It's like, wait a minute. No, exactly. We can't have it that way because then we're going to have separate countries, nobody interacts. That's an absurd way to be. Nobody wants that. We're an integrated society. We all have similarities and differences, and you cannot assault somebody in public on stage and have nothing happen. And then he receives the award because the message that it sends is, oh, well, white people can't say anything about black people going onto the subway and shooting somebody. This is just the way we handle things.
It's not even worth discussing, actually. It's just the proper approach is, if somebody says that in a serious setting, you say, listen, you should have kept your mouth shut because now everybody knows you're a complete moron. This is ridiculous. The First Amendment does not say white people have the ability to speak only about white people. What if I'm part white? Like Barack Obama. It's absurd. It's absurd. So one other thing, though, Jason, we had the FBI thing on the tarmac session.
Right.
Yeah. So June 27th, 2016, Hillary Clinton is still under investigation by the FBI. Now, I don't know, maybe there are other examples of presidential candidates who've been under investigation by the FBI, but Hillary...
Are there?
Well, we know that Hillary was under investigation as a senator of the FBI because she was named as one of the people they were investigating in criminal matters relating to the Clinton Foundation from 2001 to 2005.
It takes them a long time to investigate
That's
things.
right. If it's Corsi, boom. If it's Stone, boom. Manafort, boom. Clinton,
Right.
No.
Call us in about 6 years and we'll be like, we don't know where that laptop is.
We lost it. Yeah. But this is an internal summary or portions of a summary of the FBI, the scouring up information about this local Phoenix news person who figured out that Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch had met on the tarmac while there still was an open investigation of Hillary Clinton and before Comey had reached the conclusion that he reached. By the way, this local journalist has since died, right?
And he was like 40.
Right, yeah.
And happy and had like kids and a beautiful wife.
Mark Middleton kind of thing.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. So when I first saw this years ago, what I found quite interesting was that the attitude of the FBI agents in all this was not, God, this is pretty bad that Loretta Lynch was meeting with Bill Clinton while...
How'd they find out about that?
Yeah, so how do we make sure that nobody knows what really happened? This seems to be more like what we see here.
Yeah, the FBI is a disgrace. The NYPD is a disgrace. We've got a total loss of law and justice in this country, and it's troubling.
But what it shows, I mean, people are fond of saying in the academic world and in the political world that evil, profit-seeking capitalists can't regulate themselves. That's why we need government to do that. That's why we need the IRS. That's why we need the Department of Justice. I think what the period going back again to 1992, August, September 1992, to the present, in August of 1992, there wasn't the need. Multinational companies were not as multinational as they today are, and there weren't, terrorism had not risen to the degree that it has risen since then. And so people who had FBI experience or CIA experience couldn't as easily, or MI6 or GCHQ or other similar agencies, couldn't have readily back then set up these global consulting firms to provide security services and strategy services and other services.
Strategies.
Right? Strategies. The way they since have. And, I have never gone I've never paid an outside person in any capacity any money to come up with a strategy. I mean, if you can't do...
Well,
you don't have
decorating a...
No.
And even those strategies.
No, none of that. I mean, it's like, I'm talking about business. You don't say, well, I'm the CEO of, what's the company? Yeah.
Let's hire someone to come up with a strategy.
Yeah, I've heard that strategies are useful in a business. Why don't we get Sophia strategy, or we'll talk in a second about Blue Star strategies. That's another one.
Right.
So, anyway, this is a deeply disturbing, what name do we have here? Peter, the first name that pops up here, from Peter Strzok.
No, I know.
July 1st, 2016, right before this, the Hillary Clinton, or right as the Hillary Clinton interview is happening. And if you don't think that the real discussion that happened in Phoenix went something like this, Loretta, is present here. I believe you have grandchildren. I believe that you're not always going to be in government. I believe that you probably don't want to cross us. So I think whatever conclusion Stretch Comey comes up with next week, it better freaking exonerate Hillary Clinton, or at least make sure that nothing came out of these two FBI investigations into the Clinton Foundation prior to us dancing through the process we're going to dance through here with Hillary marching towards the coronation, November 2016, kicking the shit out of Donald Trump. That's probably more likely the way it went. It's probably, on this hand, Loretta, I want you to imagine, what Vince Foster's doing right now.
Yeah.
On this end over here, in contrast, the drapes don't need to be changed in the Attorney General's office, if when Hillary Clinton wins, because I know you'd probably do a very good job of cleaning up what hasn't yet been cleaned up under the Obama period once Hillary gets in there.
Here's something interesting about Peter Strzok. Who's this guy? Oh, it even tells us in the corner.
Benjamin Wittes.
Yeah. He's on a little podcast here. It's a conversation with Peter Strzok. Benjamin Wittes talks to him.
Who put that together? In lieu of fun? What's that?
This is, I believe, his wife, Tamara Wittes. in lieu of fun, is their stupid podcast. And
It has 4,000 subscribers.
it's not that many. It's been around since 2000. I think
They've done a lot of podcasts, though.
they've done a lot of podcasts, and they've done a lot of podcasts with Peter Strzok.
Yeah, I think this is a good title for his book, Compromised.
Right. But
So,
it's interesting how all these people seem to know each other and podcast together. And
so one thing I didn't tell you about, but I'm going to blindside you with it. If you punch into Google Blue Star Strategies, and there's a news story in the last couple days.
Yes?
Yeah.
They've closed it?
Right. What day, Jason? Did they close it?
May 17th.
What? That's an interesting day.
That's a coincidence.
All right.
Well, it sounds like the statute of limitations for something might have run out.
It could have been. So Blue Star Strategies, this is involving Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. Okay. Who is the founder of Blue Star Strategies? It's in the piece here.
Mark Ilias?
No.
Ben Witties?
They were working for,
Is that Zelensky's wife?
no, Blue Star Strategy, bipartisan bullshit. Let's look at Karen Tramontano's LinkedIn. I think you'll find there's an interesting intersection here.
She's the CEO of Blue Star Strategies.
Right. Let's go into her history.
Global
Fairness, that sounds good.
Fairness, University.
Shareholder of Dutco Worldwide, whatever that is. Dutchmo. Assistant to the president.
Ooh,
That's Bill Clinton.
yeah.
All right. Dutco Worldwide. This leaves out the fact that she was the really moron who brought Bill Clinton's Clinton Foundation into New York as just Hillary gets sworn in as a New York senator, January 3rd, 2001. They already have the house in Chappaqua. Hillary's been living there. Bill moves to that house on January 20th, 2001. And between January 20th, 2001, who calls something Dutco Worldwide? Nutco Worldwide. Nutco?
Thomas Dutt. Start Dutco. Take over the world. There's some guy now who wants to become a rapper and start his own Disneyland. The new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So if she's working at this while she's working for the Clinton Foundation, moving the Clinton Foundation into New York. Bill, in his book, the paperback version of his book, on page, I think it's either 985 or 958. I don't have the book in front of me. It specifically states that I founded my library in Arkansas and my foundation shortly after I moved to New York following my presidency. I founded it in New York. The person who did that work was Karen Tramontano. She didn't bother to check and see what laws apply in New York. He says he founded his foundation in Harlem. Okay? There's no record of the thing being there in Harlem until a filing late in, I think, 2006, 7, or 8, or maybe even 9. There's a filing in New York State. In fact, we can go. Let's look at that back into New York State, just for emphasis, because I know you have. Well, I think it's right here, Jason.
Is it? It's just as easy to do this.
Okay, 31158. You got it. Okay. All right. If you hit that, yep. And then we go to the top section. Registration statement, May 12th, 2009. Yep. All right. Now this you'll go down the page a little bit, and it has a section where it talks about,
Harlem office.
Okay, but it says it was incorporated on the 23rd of October. Harlem office, New York office. Keep going down the page. There's a section of when they began activities. I think it's the next page. So, yeah. This says they began conducting activity in New York on August 10th, 2001. Okay? That's the date approximately that they moved into the Harlem office. It claims they did not maintain any assets in New York until November 21st, 2006. Question, as Chris Wallace likes to say, question. When was the 2005 Clinton Foundation Global Initiative held?
I don't know.
September 2005. Is that before November 21st, 2006? How did they pay for things in New York if they had no assets in New York until 2006? How did they start soliciting contributions January 15th, 2002, when Bill paid a visit to in either 98, I think it's 99 in June? He gathered a bunch of people at a fancy French restaurant to explain his vision for his post-presidency, and multiple accounts, including that by Terry McAuliffe published, say that they raised $100 million.
That's a lot.
But that's a lot before January 15th, 2002. Right, so they can't even fill out these forms right. Hillary, by the way, is a sitting senator, and by this time, I guess she's a failed presidential candidate. She's a Secretary of State. It says the purposes of your organization to endow the Clinton Presidential Center and Park in Arkansas. Okay, that part is actually true, but to continue the work of the Clinton presidency, that was never authorized as a valid purpose.
I mean, how could it even be? The work of the Clinton presidency was to be the president of the United States. You can't do that with a charity.
Right, and this is, maybe Nina Jankowicz wrote this, to strengthen the capacity of people in the U.S. and throughout the world to meet the challenges of global interdependence.
Well, she would have been 10.
I would be falling asleep. I mean, how can you write what does that mean? How is that charitable?
I don't know.
I mean, it
could have been written by a 10-year-old.
Yeah, it probably was. Look at, it's just,
the purpose is to sing Harry Potter songs.
But the point of it is, between 97 and roughly 2001, the person who was in charge of this, I use this word advisedly, aborted effort to set up a charity in New York was Karen Tramontano. And there's a book that talks about this that's tough to find, but I have it. And it explains that Karen Trump, she's the one who's being pinned with a disaster. That the announcement at first that Bill Clinton had selected the most expensive office in New York City, which he didn't ultimately take it. It was huge, way over the top for a hedge fund.
I never heard Bill Clinton selected the most expensive office. That's the most expensive office in New York City?
It was over the top per square foot. It was in this building over at Hedge Fund Row in Central Park South. We walked by it.
That's got to be an impressive office.
Oh, yeah. And the people are like, wait a minute, this is more expensive than the offices of every other living president combined. We're not paying for this. And so they had to be huge. And this is after, they first they have to explain the pardon. They can't do that right. Then Bill writes
the Mark Rich pardon.
Then Bill writes this absurd attack on the people who are attacking him. And all the while, Karen Tramontano is in charge of this post-presidency. She's the one who's supposed to put all this stuff together. And
that's the Harlem office.
Well, that's the Harlem office. But if you do outcry, if you probably do into Google outcry Clinton office 2001, there's probably a New York Times story or two about it. I remember it because at that time I was still working and I had a modest but nice office. Well, that's not going to work. Yeah,
I think at one point I was.
But anyway, so this person sets up. I mean, because she's so good at execution and strategy and so qualified, she sets up this Blue Star Strategies in the center of the mess on Burisma, a Clintonista. In the center of the Burisma mess. And now I think we understand why the press was so willing to stomp on the Hunter Biden laptop story, to stomp on Burisma, to Clinton's new office.
LA Times does not like Bill Clinton in the late 90s. Former President Bill Clinton has done it again. He and his advisors have managed a post-election scandal into a political home run in the New York office story, February 13th to 14th.
Okay, so this office story comes precisely at the time that the FBI decides to open a fake investigation into Bill Clinton. It happens almost to the day.
But wait, this is talking about an empowerment zone. Isn't this the Mark Rich affair reveals yet another side of Clinton's political genius? He found a means, the presidential power.
These are comments to it now.
Right. Well, but the office, talking about Harlem, though, that can't be the most expensive office.
No. See, after intense criticism, his first decision was to rent prime New York office space at over $800,000 per year. To put that figure in perspective, our operation in New York had, I think, 15 people in Manhattan, and the office rent was about $150,000, which is not nothing, but it's certainly not $800,000. It's crazy. I know he needs security. I didn't need security. He's a former president. I wasn't. But still, this was so far over the top for a small office that people protested and they had to scrap it and instead take the space up in Harlem. So Harlem was not his first idea. His first idea was to swan around with the fancy hedge fund guys over on the west side, close to the expensive restaurants and the nightlife, and call again and say, well, Hillary, I'm glad you're down there in Washington. I think I'm going to stay in New York tonight. I'll call you tomorrow afternoon, maybe, after I sleep it off.
Well, expensive office has got to have a humidor. So here's the comeback kid.
Yeah, we don't need all
somewhere
that.
in here it's going to talk about his office problems.
Yeah, that would be more like way down the page, sure.
Oh yeah, 1993 has a lot of scandals there.
The whole thing is scandal plagued.
It's the timeline of scandals. Well, we're still saddled with problems from Bill Clinton, the expansion of NATO, etc.
Here we go. After controversy over the public expense.
Proposed office space in downtown, less expensive space in Harlem. But this is kind of the biggest building around. Maybe
right,
not.
but my point is, I was really more focused on this Karen Tramontano. If you have, in the for-profit world, I'm not saying that overpayments don't happen. Let's call it bribes, overpayments. They certainly do happen, but there's more scrutiny of it because typically in an enterprise, you have more than one shareholder. And the shareholders don't like to see that, you're getting something and I'm not getting it.
Right, it's a self-check.
But in the case of, what is this? This is the helping out with a...
This is going to be a website that probably doesn't like Elon Musk. Elon Musk asked prospective candidates to share 3 to 5 bullet points showing evidence of exceptional ability. Seemed a reasonable thing to say on Twitter. This is the day after these sexual harassment allegations, which I've just been reading a little bit about it. It's allegations from the friend of the person, neither of which want to give their real names.
Right.
And by the way, when you're a billionaire and somebody sues you, the concept of a lawyer settling with them for $250,000 doesn't mean you did it. It means they realize, look, if you engage in this lawsuit, even though it's not true, it's going to cost more than $250,000. It's going to be in the news every single day. Mr. Musk, I'm your lawyer. Allow me to make an offer to this person to make them go away. Fine. Paid the $250, so that's on record now. And Musk says, from now on, I don't care how much it costs. I'm never settling a lawsuit if I'm not guilty.
Right.
That, to me, says this is all lawfare against Elon Musk. And they've got it locked and loaded and ready. Look at how quickly they brought so much crap on me. And I'm certainly nobody. If you're one of the most famous people in the world and rich as hell, they have all kinds of plans and schemes that they can drop on you at any moment.
So just back on this issue of strategy firms, you have, in the world of, let's say, selling a company that's tough to sell, you want a good auctioneer. You want somebody who can figure out before you go to market, is the business saleable? The client will think it's worth a lot of money, but if it's not saleable, you have to say to the client, look, you can't sell this. I don't want to try to sell it. It won't sell. Because if you put your name out as a competent financial advisor and you waste everybody's time and energy and you spend 6, 9, 12, 15 months on a project and nothing happens, nobody's happy with you.
Yeah.
And so you don't do that. So that's an area where selling troubled assets is a field where people make good money and they have experience. Hiring somebody to serve the interests of a foreign country or a multinational company to invent a strategy or some nebulous thing, you're in charge of the Global Fairness Institute. I mean, that's just rubbish. And here we have Cheng. He's got his pronouns there. Oh, because he's on the American LBT, but it's he, him.
So I don't know what he's doing here.
Wait a minute. He served as National Finance Director of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, where he built and directed a fundraising operation that raised nearly $1 billion. Prior to the 2016 campaign, he was Chief Development Officer of the Clinton Foundation, where he launched and led a $250 million endowment, illegally, to secure the foundation's future.
But that was a totally different $250 million, not at all tied to the campaign. Don't look at that. Executive in residence, head of the investor relations at BetaWorks, startup platform.
Mm-hmm. I call bullshit on this entire thing.
Well, I was just looking for the website for his several years old, highly desirable strategy firm. And it's weird, Charles. I mean, you would imagine if you typed in Cheng Strategies, it would probably bring up the website, right?
Yeah.
Why is it not doing that?
Try it. Is it one word, Cheng Strategies, or two words? No?
Well, let's
do it, take it a step further. Let's look at New York State entity search.
Right.
And let's see what comes up.
I just find it right away strange.
No, I want to see if you bothered to register. Because that would be amusing if you didn't.
Is this it?
Yep. Search by entity name. Yep. And you have to put up LLC. You see this down here?
Yeah.
Well,
let's do all.
Yeah, and you just want to tick limited liability. Not that. Yeah.
He's got it.
Okay. There it does say 2017. It's a New York corporation,
Right.
LLC.
Berry Street.
That's quite interesting. Let's punch up
Liberty Street.
Let's punch up the calendar for May 2017, please. Okay. What day of the week was May 14th?
Sunday.
Okay. I speak to Smith on Saturday in the evening, 5 o'clock, roughly. He's found dead the 14th. Comey had been fired. When was he fired? So look at that timeline.
May 9th.
The 9th. And when was Mueller appointed?
Well, the press release is May 17th.
And when was Cheng's firm founded?
Same day, huh?
And Cheng should have called his thing, Show Me the Money Strategies, right? I mean,
the strategy is don't get caught. Top line.
Next.
This is the top line strategy. This is why I get paid the big bucks.
That's right.
Charles, you bring me in, I'm going to tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
So what the hell is going on? Who has a company in 2022 that has no website at all?
Well, it's super confidential, Jason.
I agree. It sounds like he doesn't really want business. He's just got the company there in case you need to pay him.
Is there, what if we do a who is search? Is there a Cheng Strategies?
Well, we would need chengstrategies.com to search it.
Maybe it's chengstrategies.con. No, nothing there.
I mean,
.org, is it?
Well, no. Oh, you know what? These young people, Charles, they like .io.
Well, it's not that.
No, he's got nothing registered there. Or maybe it was registered at some point, but we don't know. A lot of these strategic companies are...
Is it, does he have an operation in London?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the fact that Googling it gives us nothing makes it hard to figure out.
Well, let's go into the company's house in the UK and just put in Dennis Cheng and see what you get. Find company information. Then you have Start Now.
I love all these government websites that make you click 17 times before you can find
Then just put in Dennis Cheng.
Oh, right, because he was at the London School of Economics or something. Cheng's Dennis's? I don't know. There could be a lot of
Let's
people
try
named
this
Dennis Cheng. Oh, born 1976? That seems older than he is. He's
Winning Inc.
But isn't Dennis Cheng like 30 or something?
No. This could be Winning Inc. That's interesting. Let's see what that's about. May not be the filing history. It's just a very small, another one of these tiny companies.
This is £1.
Dennis Cheng. This may not be the same Dennis Cheng.
Yeah, we need to do a little more looking into this guy offline, I think, because he could be up to who knows what.
Good. Well, I mean, could he have been 40 in 2016? That's about right. When did he graduate from Swarthmore?
Yeah, 2001.
All right, so 15. He would have had to be.
You're right. He would be about 40 now.
Now, but
no, he's younger than me.
If he graduated, you said 2001 from Swarthmore, and let's say he was 22, so then you're going to add 15 to 20. It's just not the same guy.
He's 42 or 43 now.
But back then he would have been.
Yeah, no, that's not him. I don't know. He's liking the London School of Economics.
No, wait a minute. Okay, all right.
He's chilling with Hillary.
He's onward together.
Onward together. Why do they have him at that museum? Maybe he's on the board or something. I don't know. Anything else, Charles? Like, what about Elon Musk taking over Twitter? That's cooled off a little bit over the weekend.
Oh, it's going to heat up, I think.
It's going to heat up on Monday.
A lot, if not tonight.
Why tonight?
Well, because you're going to start reading that people have to have the business page of the Wall Street Journal.
Has Parag Agrawal answered any of Elon Musk's questions about how many bots there are there?
I don't know that, but a friend of mine sent me, there's, I think, a story about Jack Welch and Elon Musk in the Sunday New York Times. Might be in the magazine. Might be the cover of the magazine. But it's basically saying that Elon Musk is a problem today because of the example set by Jack Welch.
What? Isn't Jack Welch...
The one-time manager of the century paved the way for CEOs to moonlight as internet trolls. Okay, who wrote this? David Gellies.
Boy, they really don't want Elon Musk to take over. I mean, the truth of the matter is, in a normal world, we should say, oh, website bought by a billionaire, great, who cares?
Well, I think because, I mean, let's think about, who owns Bloomberg?
Like Bloomberg.
Who owns the Washington Post?
Jeff Bezos.
Right? Who owns the New York Times?
Doesn't Carlos Slim own a lot of it?
He had lent money to it when it was in trouble, but it's whatever the family is of the New York Times. But I mean,
what about Rupert Murdoch owns the Post?
Exactly.
New York
It's quite
Post and
common
Fox.
around the world for.
But they don't like it when Elon Musk tries to do it.
Well, because they know they have Twitter. I think, and you share this view, has been used to interfere in elections and to pump people up and blow people down for quite a long time. When Jack Welch was at his, I would argue, in the sewer, but some people would say at the height of his power in the 2000 election, Jack Welch went down, because they owned at that time. He owned NBC, it owned MSNBC, a big interest in MSNBC. He was down on the floor, next to the newscaster, next to the sets during the breaks, supposedly, telling these anchors, you better, George W. Bush won this election. Let's not screw around here.
Oh, wow.
So interesting. I mean, if we go back to the Welch story just for a sec, and let's look at the beginning of it. The title. This is a story. It would appear, it's the cover of the New York Times, Sunday New York Times magazine, right?
So they're very interested in getting Elon Musk off.
Well, but let's think about this. To get a cover story together. I mean, I know for the Sunday Times of London, I was told back in 2009 when I was mentioned in a cover story of the magazine that it took 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's like what they tell you when they're remodeling your kitchen. If they really want to do it, it takes a weekend.
No, because these are all planned in advance. The magazine, they have, these are longer treatments. People fight over, what we should do in each thing. Musk's bid, when did it come?
April 4th or something.
Not April 4th, wasn't it?
Well, they started talking about it in April.
Not the 4th, though.
Well, and there's a lot of people who are messing around with Twitter for a lot of different reasons, and you're not actually following at Barack Obama according to these things. Elon Musk by Twitter. News. Let's see when it started. Well, how about when did he announce?
Here's the detailed timeline here. Just hit the first story. A deal was announced on April 25th.
25th.
All right. So by May 21st, you have a cover story in the New York Times that's in this detail linking Musk to Welch. Now, a lot of times, as in the case of obituaries, the obituary department has the obituary.
Got it ready.
No, they do.
But they're not going to know that Elon Musk would buy Twitter. It's too random. They can bet that every person is going to die eventually.
No, but they knew that Elon Musk was flirting with Twitter. And my point is to link it, to have that story, again, if we go to the cover, be written, if you look down, it describes the author here. David, however you pronounce it, is the author of The Man Who Broke Capitalism. A new book on Jack Welch. I definitely want to get that book. I doubt he has done the kind of research that I did on GE, but he would have access to do different style research. With New York Times, you're able, as a New York Times reporter, working on a book, you get entree to lots of people that I would never get entree to because you're the New York Times. That is to say, for now.
Right. That's called The Man Who Broke Capitalism.
Yeah.
Well,
is that an autobiography by Barack Obama, or is it no?
Well,
I do share the view, though, that he didn't do this alone. He had a lot of help from politicians.
is this out? I guess it is.
It says new book. If we go down the page, it should have a description.
Vigorous argument for more humane capitalism.
Right. If you keep it, generally they have about the author product details. Publication date May 31st, so it's coming out soon.
Oh.
Simon & Schuster, of course.
Next week or whatever.
Yeah. Not the.
How is it already number one?
In company. Well, anything on GE is going to get a lot of
Pre-sales?
anything about GE by a famous author is going to get a lot of sales. It's interesting, though, I have to say. I will buy this book. I don't want to, but I will buy the book just to see how different the treatment is of GE today in 2022. When I began the project myself by February of 2007, I was a heretic to challenge the view that GE was anything other than a superb organization. Anyway, I know we've been going on here a bit longer than normal, Jason.
That's all right, Charles. I think people enjoy it. There's been a lot of people calling for an in-studio show for a while, so here you go.
That's
Air
right.
conditioner's working well, I would say.
It's working well, and now people will complain. Why weren't you walking around in the street?
I don't know what happened with the audio, but again, when people are like, oh, the audio is out of sync. Yeah, I know. You telling me doesn't fix it, and I'm not going to disrupt the whole show to fix it. Do you know I watch a lot of professional podcasts where the audio is out of sync all the time? So we had a little error today. People will live.
Let's hope.
I appreciate the people who give us useful information, like, hey, you were talking about this the other day. Here's a piece of evidence that'll help you crack the case. Nobody's doing that. We didn't get that much of a chance to talk about Nina, but I think it's going to cool down significantly on Wednesday. We can walk around, see what's going on. We spoke about it a little bit. She's employing the strategy of just, we need a new lie, and then go on every news show and say that.
Right.
That's what they did. But people can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And it's very important, Charles, because Crowdsource the Truth 5, the YouTube channel, has been struck, and there's obviously a plan afoot to wipe that out. They only do it to the 4 previous channels. It's not difficult to guess that they're probably trying to do that to the new channel. And as I anticipated, didn't really excite the interest of the social engineers until it reached 10,000 subscribers. So I think this is what we can anticipate they're going to keep doing, try to knock me off of YouTube anytime a YouTube channel gets a significant size. So people can subscribe on Rumble, people can subscribe on Odyssey, people can subscribe to the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel. All of these things are going to help make it more difficult for social engineers to remove Crowdsource the Truth from the internet. I'm no longer on Twitter, working on getting that back. But the best way that you can help Crowdsource the Truth stay on the internet, even if you're only watching the free shows, is to become a sponsor. Check out the sponsor exclusive content. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great weekend. Or